If you're here, I'm just going to give it another minute. I'm going to go grab a glass of water. If you want to have water with you or anything in particular, if you can't hear me good, drop a comment, let me know. So you could always forward ahead a bit if you're joining this after the fact and not live. I've had some messages and comments and concerns you can drop in the comments if you have any requests. But if you're watching this after the fact, fast forward to where we begin. And I'm going to give everybody a couple minutes. We'll probably start at like 2:05. If you're here live, I think I'll be able to see a chat. Let's see. If anybody has any questions, and just make yourself comfortable. So you don't have to be wearing anything in particular. You don't have to have a yoga mat. If you have a little cushion or support for your knees or spine, that can be helpful. And I guess I'll share with you now that it can be very simple and incredibly powerful to create a space for yourself. And you don't have to have much actual space or anything special to do that, which is what's most magical about a yoga practice in general, is that it's so accessible to everyone in different ways. Okay, so here's how I've created my space, like in the last 5 minutes before I went live. I have a pumpkin plant that I accidentally started growing, and I picked my first pumpkin from it. And that was super exciting. So I brought some special things here with me. So this is how I'm creating my special space, with like a few special meaningful things I grabbed. We went to the beach this year, got all these seashells. This is me and my family, my husband and my son. I don't know how good you can see. Let's see. And we collected all these seashells and put around the frame. And then I found this bomb seashell there a couple years ago. I found it with my foot. I picked this up in the ocean with my bare foot. I felt it, and I just couldn't believe it when I saw it. It's so amazing, this beautiful shell. I'm so grateful for it. You can hear the ocean in it and everything. So thanks for being here. Hopefully y'all can hear me, or I can see a chat. If you can't hear me, let me know if anything goes wrong, and I'll try to keep looking at that. Hi. So I'm going to start at in 30 seconds, I think. Shout out to Paige, who's here live, and much love to anybody who watches this at any time in the future. Perhaps it could be our collective intention that this practice serves all of us in our greatest and highest good, whatever that may be. It's my intention for this practice to be a bit of balm to heal and soothe, but also our yoga practice teaches us to sit in discomfort. So we'll be perhaps finding the edge of our discomfort in a little stretch or a little strength. And let's tune into our breath. So you can start by sitting up or laying down. Totally your choice. We'll be there for maybe a couple minutes, but you can always change your mind. You're never stuck. So comfortable seat, sitting tall, or comfortably laying down, feeling supported. And knees can be bent or legs can be straight or any shape. Get picky about it. Move in any way that you need to. When your body starts to feel a bit relaxed, allow yourself invitation to tune into your breath. Breathing into and back out through your nose as long as that's comfortable for you. And maybe letting your arms stretch out or using your hands as a pillow if you're laying back, or you could place your hands on your belly or your chest to tune in to your breath more deeply, perhaps. Everything I say is an invitation that you can consider and accept or decline, and this is a gift to you to explore or be curious about who you are, how you work, and how we might take more agency and kind of control over our lives, right? When we begin to control and engage with our breath, so you can do that now if you want, breathing a bit more deeply or deepening the experience that you're having breathing. So maybe you add a count, 3 slow count in, 3 slow count out to your breath to even and deepen this breath, this prana, this life source, most vital life source of energy. And the breath, of all the physiological responses to stress, is the one that we can control. And then the breath in turn can affect heart rate and body temperature and all sorts of things. So maybe now, if you want, you could still count slow to 3 as you breathe in, but double the count, or even just add a couple as you exhale, lengthening your exhalation. And then it may become our intention with that to tap into our parasympathetic nervous system, this calming response, our body's natural calming response. And you might have a particular, specific, very personal intention to bring to this practice today. And you might begin to breathe that through you now. So it might be a word or a phrase or a feeling, something specific or general, silly or profound. And if you're laying back, you can have the option to opt out of everything and take a nap. Or there's power and actual scientific evidence now in the benefits of visualizing our body moving through a yoga practice or running or doing something we love, even when we're not able or not feeling able or don't want to. Our body responds in a very similar way, which is super cool. So you can keep laying down, or if you're laying down, make your way all the way upright with us, and we'll start to invite some healthy ranges of motion into our spine or our lifeline. I'm going to sit sideways just to show you that, and you could be sitting in a chair or on the ground. You could have your legs out straight or crisscross, and hands to the knees or lap or behind you, and we'll take a big breath in to lift through our heart and stretch the front of the spine, hips to head, And then as you exhale, gently round to seated cat. We'll do that again. Inhale. Exhale. And move through a few more of those. Move through a few more of those. Seated cat and cow. You can always do that standing too. This front and back. And can you feel the movement into each of the 3 segments of your spine? Lumbar, thoracic, and cervical. In the front and back and both sides all the way around. So once you've come to a comfortable space and relaxed your body and tuned into your breath, you can begin to move through that cat and cow. Inhale, lift through the heart and the head just to comfort or to the edge of that comfort. And then exhale to round. Coming to stillness whenever you're ready, and we'll take that side to side now. And you could do this with or without the arm. The arm doesn't really matter. It might be helpful, it might feel good, but we're side bending the spine, the lifeline from our hips to our head. So breathing into and back out through your nose as long as that's comfortable for you. You can reach the arm or not. You can keep moving fluidly side to side and deepening the experience that you're having with it. Or you could deepen the experience you're having with it by staying to one side if you like. So again, keep that fluid range of motion going. If you like, if you prefer, you could linger to one side. If you're curious about that, I have fingertips light here. Relax the elbows and shoulders, tucking this bottom side in. Hips and legs drop heavy. Tucking this bottom side in to gently, naturally lengthen the opposing side of the spine. Leaning back, maybe even leaning back into the palm of that hand, lifting through the chest, deepening the experience you're having with each breath. Maybe imagining someone that you very much trust, bringing their hand to support your upper back, behind you, that little lift to the back of your heart space. So again, you could have been moving still side to side or linger in that side as long as it serves you, gently beginning to switch sides when you're ready. And again, it may feel better without the arm. It'll be different for each of us, right? Imagine leaning back against a wall. And sometimes it's even helpful. You might be curious to do that, to practice leaning against a wall. And of course, you could just be still and breathe into that experience, or you could bring all sorts of curious movement in, right? I'm a huge fan of like dancing whenever you can, even by yourself, especially by yourself. Moving our bodies to like move energy out. Again, you could lay your head back and your hand on that side if it feels helpful. So if energy, we're all aware of the way it feels to be affected by the energy in a room or by the energy of somebody. We'll take this into a twist next. So maybe you hook both feet around to one side if that works in your body, or you could sit whatever other way you're able to. And then if you do that twist towards the knees or away from the feet, rather. Take any twist. This is the last of those therapeutic ranges of motion for the spine, front, back, side to side. I know I was getting at something just a moment ago, but it slipped my mind. Remember to deepen the experience you're having with each breath. You could stay in that twist, or the same as the other ranges of motion. You could keep gently twisting side to side, exploring that, especially if you're sitting in a more neutral shape with the legs out or crisscross, otherwise switching sides when you're ready. So we get some ranges of motion into the hips, into the shoulders, into the spine, our lifeline. So maybe we shout out the spine with a little bit of gratitude. Really imagine that you're like, when you're breathing, that your breath is just like shining this like light of love or up and down the length of your spine, that you could feel your breath even kind of touching your spine as the ribs expand. Remembering not to worry about how far you twist, just how tall can you sit, how deep is the experience you're having with your breath, and having so much unconditional loving kindness and compassion for yourself and the experience. And so whenever you're ready from that, you can unwind, and we'll take a simple low lunge. I'm going to go this way. Step your right foot forward if you would. And then can you hinge just a little forward and back? This foot could be pointed or flexed. If it doesn't feel good to have the knee down, you might be able to lift. Maybe you tap a few times. You can stay high or bring it back down and hang in the stretch. So I'm at a pretty good angle here, but you might be a little bit more shallow in that range of motion. So we're stretching the front of this left hip. Then we're going to stretch the back of the right. So the front foot, this right foot could stay pointed or flexed, or you could move through that. Imagine, though, your sits bones and tail lights trying to shine equal behind you. So you're gently drawing the hips and the tailbone straight back. Hands can stay under the shoulders for support, or you might feel okay to walk them forward. Maybe bow the head. Deep breath. Of course, the front knee might stay bent quite a bit, or you might straighten it a little. We're stretching the back of that leg and then breathing compassion into the experience so you can stay there as long as that seems to serve you. And then let's find a way to come upright with it. Clasp the hands behind. Take a deep breath or two. Can you give yourself a hug then? And then we'll just let that go and switch sides. So I'll apologize in advance if I've been talking really loudly into the video. The microphone shows that it's not picking up very much of my sound at all, so it could be either way. Let's do the lunge on the second side. Also live in the country. There's a tractor out there. Hopefully you can't hear it. So feet and knees are hips distance. Feet are wide apart. So you have room for your pelvis here. Remember that back foot pointed or flexed. You might lift up or not. I want to invite you to the edge of that stretch, to breathe, to the edge of discomfort, not to go into pain or an unhealthy range of motion or to force at all, but to explore. And then once you feel you've stretched the front of that right hip, then we'll take it to stretch the back of the left. Left foot pointed or flexed. Might also feel good as you remember to draw the hips back and lengthen the spine forward. Press that front heel gently down and imagine drawing it towards you a bit. We can activate the muscle that we're trying to stretch or lengthen. And then let's find that lunge upright. Maybe clasp hands behind. Maybe hug with the opposite arm on top if you could think of it. And there's always an open invitation to move whatever ways you feel like you might need to. You can take a half yogi squat to each side, and you might be like way up high. And to the other. Same, you might be up high. You could be doing this sitting in a chair or however low you're able to that healthy, curious edge. And it's nice to try to find a balance of stretch and strength. So let's come around to hands and knees and get a little spinal strength. Take one leg back. Toes can touch down and they can stay on the ground, or you could lift that leg hip height, but don't lift the hip. Lift the belly up and in, heart forward. Maybe opposite arm from the leg could come to fingertips or even reach. You could do just the arm or just the leg, but lengthen. Draw the belly in, turn the heart forward, reach, maybe circle ankle and wrist. And set it all down and switch sides. And if it's ever hard on a wrist, of course, you could do a fist here. Opposite arm and leg, or just one or the other. It's a spinal length, spinal strength. It's not just about the belly in. Draw in around the whole waist. Heart forward, lengthening the upper spine forward, the bottom of the spine, lower body back. Deepening the experience you're having with your breath. Maybe wiggling fingers and toes and moving quite a bit or being still. We'll set that down and take child's pose. So you could have feet and knees together or apart. Feet could be together, knees could be apart, whatever works for your body. I'll show you a traditional Balasana child's pose here with feet and knees together and reaching the arms back and resting the head on the mat or whatever you've got. You can always use the hands for a pillow, however high you need. You could also take knees and or feet as wide as you want. So experiment. Every day might be different. Every body will certainly be different. Deepen the experience you're having with your breath. This is a shape that tends to feel great for a lot of people. It may or may not for you. So you could try to find a way for it to serve you. You could always come out of it sooner if you need. Otherwise, we'll stay for a handful of breaths, maybe even 10 or a dozen. You could stay there as long as that shape seems to be serving you. No rush. Maybe even keep your eyes closed if that feels comfortable for you. We're just going to come to cat and cow from tabletop. And it doesn't even have to be cat and cow. It can be intuitive movement that includes all of those ranges of motion for the spine. Front to back, side to side, hands and knees can go wide. You don't have to be hard on your wrists. You can explore quite a bit here. Letting like your fingers and toes and wrists and jaw and eyes and neck and kind of get into the mix. You can keep experimenting with those ranges of motion as long as you like. Just when you're ready, find a simple, easy seat again, sitting any way that you can. It might be crisscross. If you can stack one leg over the other, go for it. Maybe you could even wiggle your feet back to try to stack the knees a little. This may or may not work for you. Of course, everybody's different. Sit however you need to. No big deal. Sit tall in a chair or wherever you're at on the ground. Give yourself a hug. Okay, if you have the legs like this, put the opposite arm on top though. You can move here. Like, we tend to get a little sticky and tight in our middle body, middle back, thoracic spine. It protects our rib cage is there, all of our, so many vital organs, so it gets a little sticky. Wrap up as tight as you can in the hug. I find it helpful to go hands below the shoulders here. You could stay sitting tall, or you could tuck your chin to your chest. Take some deep breaths into your upper back. The rest of the spine is sitting tall, though, even with chin tucked. It might feel okay if you want to explore leaning forward. Some of you might be able to bring arms to knees, depending on, how it's all working out. You might open the arms if that's the case. If that feels good, you could stay there. Otherwise, we can try eagle arms. Try to bring the backs of the hands towards one another. You might have elbows apart. We'll all be very different in this as well, but this is eagle arm. See if you can lift up shoulder height. You can lift and lower even if it feels okay. And then we're just going to switch all of this. So switch the way the legs are crossed or the way that you're sitting perhaps. Roll your shoulders out. Give yourself a big hug with the opposite arm on top. You might have tucked the chin or stayed sitting upright. Maybe you've leaned forward and opened the arms. You could stay experimenting with that as long as you like. Come out of it whenever you're ready. And for anyone who sticks around to the end here, well, thank you for having joined me for any part of this practice at all. Thank you for breathing and getting curious about movement or breath or yourself. And for anyone who's still watching, I will share that this new moon really kicked my butt. Usually only once in a while the full moon will kind of get me all caught up in its energy and wash me over good. But last Tuesday, I woke up crying and I just cried all day. I was working through it as best I could and processing what was happening. We're not always just feeling our own feelings. If we're sensitive, the same as we're affected by energy in a room, we can be feeling a lot of feelings or thinking thoughts that are the collectives and not our own. So I think that was it. There's a lot going on, obviously. And then today I've been looking forward to getting back to class in person. And as I was getting ready for the class today, the beginning pangs of a panic attack came over me. And I'm learning to follow my intuition more deeply, and hopefully live on YouTube makes the class as accessible or more accessible to my students at Westlib and to other humans in my community and everywhere. So thank you. Thank you for breathing, for being you. Thank you to all of our ancestors and guardian angels, or whatever language or beliefs resonate with you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Much love. Peace.